Creator Clash is delayed.
Oh, what absolutely devastating and shocking and unbelievable news that nobody expected coming. The non-charity charity event has been delayed. How have you all been? I've been pretty giddy. I've had that amazing news. I also absolutely demolished Anissa on Twitter, ratioing her into an oblivion. So, you know, wins all around in terms of iDubbbz and Anissa. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. Usually I will talk about the topic that I put in the front of the video, usually towards the end of the video. But today, the Creator Clash topic is actually the smallest segment that I want to cover first. So without further ado, let it play.
Today, so I suppose it's out there in the ether, but Creator Clash is delayed.
So this was a kind of surprising thing to hear, because Creator Clash hasn't actually said anything on their socials since they announced that Ian and Anissa were taking a step back. Now possibly I thought at first that this fighter was maybe just trying to bait the drama tubers into covering this, that it wasn't actually going to be real, right, just a bit more publicity, and that Creator Clash were then going to announce the other fighters. But there is another fighter that's actually come out to say that yeah, it's been postponed or whatever, which we will get into.
Creator Clash is delayed to a date far in the future.
This is completely unbelievable, and not for the reason that, yes, this is being postponed. Everyone and their nan could have told you that this was going to be postponed. I've said it several times over the past few videos that it's very likely that this is going to get postponed or full-on cancelled, but you can go and still buy a Creator Clash ticket to this event that's apparently postponed to a date far, far away in the future.
For me, this is a huge bummer, not only because I was bringing out a bunch of my family, but I was losing weight at a lightning clip. I was losing weight at a fucking lightning clip.
See, that's of course the one area where I do feel bad. I feel bad for all the fighters that put their time and effort into fighting on this quote-unquote charity event, trying to, you know, put the actual effort into training, losing weight, spending loads of time away from content creation and whatever else they do to try and focus on fighting in this event, for it only to be postponed and them not even say anything publicly about it. This fighter isn't the only person that's now spoke out about this or even just mentioned it on stream. You know, our favorite pal Tubbo has actually said something on his stream.
Yeah, I don't know. I believe it's postponed.
I don't know, I believe it is an absolutely amazing start to just show the complete lack of communication, right? That there is just nothing going on behind the scenes, that nobody really knows anything, everybody's clueless, including Tubbo. I mean, he was always clueless about all of the Creator Clash stuff, but this is just absolutely hilarious to me.
I don't have all the details. I haven't actually called them. We were supposed to have a phone call, but it just never happened, so...
I don't have all the details, and there was a call that was supposed to happen, but didn't happen, which is just amazing, and I would love to know if it was Tubbo that, you know, didn't pick up the call, or they just didn't call, like they completely forgot, like their event is just so in the mud that they just didn't bother calling. But regardless of what's going on, it seems like this event is in the absolute mud. It seems like it's been postponed to an indefinite date, which is just insane, and iDubbbz and Anissa haven't said anything about Creator Clash 3 falling into the pit, and, you know, not even Creator Clash 3 themselves have spoke out about it, and you know, it's been a little bit of time now. So I'd love to see what they have to say about this, if it is genuinely postponed, seeing what they have to say for themselves, because it's going to be hilarious regardless. But that's all I want to talk about in reference to Creator Clash. There's only the new stuff to go over, but of course, as you know, I'll be covering Creator Clash as more updates come out in future iDubbbz videos, because you know, this is the start of something much bigger. Of course, as you can tell, the video has not ended yet. We've got a lot more to discuss, and you might be asking, what is that? Well, iDubbbz went on this podcast. This podcast, as you're about to see, as we go over clips that H3 has posted and then the clips that I've sourced myself, it's genuinely the most irritating podcast, the most insufferable thing you have ever listened to, and I'm very sorry for that.
So I don't like I have feelings, like I relate to Ethan, I think in specifically
you guys both kind of had like the same kind of like, oh, I gotta kind of reconcile with my past moments.
Yeah, so I relate in that way, but then I also relate in the way that it's hard. It's hard to be funny.
It's genuinely like every situation iDubbbz find themselves in now, right? Even if it is just the H3 stuff overall, he has to inject himself into it, right? He sees himself in Ethan just everywhere. He sees himself just everywhere he goes, right? You remember the crying clip?
You know, I also see the dynamic of Ethan and Neil. I'm like, fuck, like, it's really hard to be, a couple online and see people attacking your partner, and it's like, okay, like if you come to their defense, that doesn't always help them, right? Sometimes that makes it worse for them.
You see, guys, he's a pretty empathetic guy, right? He can see himself in Ethan Klein and what Ethan Klein's going through. So, you know, I love that this narrative's still going.
And I can tell that bro really, like, admires, like, a lot of these comedians that he's had on his show. I think he wants to, you know, be something special. I think he wants to be an entertainer. but like it's gonna take a lot of fucking like pain and hurt to actually discover who the fuck you are, because I don't think he knows who he is, to be honest. Like,
look, I don't want to take what Ethan has said about iDubbbz here off his Instagram story saying he's projecting and just, regurgitate it, but I think iDubbbz may be projecting. Because, you could say that iDubbbz definitely doesn't know who he is or what he's doing, right? He completely walked against what he said about the content cops and what he said he would do in reference to Ethan Klein and about what Ethan Klein should be doing. So, I mean, this is just incredibly funny to, witness.
Do you see yourself maybe one day rekindling, like if the option were to be there, like a friendship with some of the people that are now calling you the demon or like a terrorist? Do you like? I feel like I know the answer because you have the love ethic or whatever Lolo
right?
Called it. Yeah.
But I do think there is always, because that's not. I don't think that's very strong to it's not black and white. Right. And I think you do need to set boundaries, and I think Ethan would have to, as an example, but there's many other people, but Ethan as the example, would have to crash and burn.
See guys, iDubbbz is just a very empathetic person. He thinks that Ethan should just lose everything so then he can go and be friends with him again. See? Empathy? I like how he doesn't stutter though, that's the one thing he doesn't stutter for, just blatantly says it, doesn't see anything wrong with it, doesn't get any pushback, and he's just floating out into the void. Like, that's amazing.
And get hurt in a very life-changing way. Not physically hurt, necessarily.
Right, yeah.
But if he wants to do boxing, like, I'll fucking sure.
See, unless iDubbbz can gain something from it, then maybe the bridge could be rebuilt. And as you're gonna tell from these people that actually run the podcast, they're as equally as insufferable, irritating, they don't push back, they laugh, they agree with a lot of the stuff, and they're equally as unhinged and psychotic. But of course, before we actually take a look at more of the podcast itself, Ethan Klein alongside this has posted a few more Instagram stories about Anissa and iDubbbz, including a few embarrassing clips that Anissa has said about iDubbbz.
Because to me, like, honestly, if I were to like rate Ian honestly, I would say like 9.5. Like, literally, the only thing that would make him like, 0.5 hotter is if like his breath didn't stink all the time or whatever. Like,
it's just amazing, right? Everybody on the internet wants a partner that just absolutely humiliates them 24/7 on live stream and in clips that can then be dug up later to use against them. Amazing stuff. Of course, as well, Anissa has made a few more tweets and replies, falling flat on her face while trying to defend her honor and iDubbbz's. Without wasting any more time and without further ado, I'd like to dive straight into the rest of this podcast because we've got a lot to take a look at.
The whole Ethan Klein situation.
Of
So I
course.
feel like that's what's elevated, especially recently, all of this drama to a different level where slop tubers, which for people who don't know.
Okay, as a slop tuber here, I'm hoping he gets the definition right, because the definition is basically you just say something slop if you don't like it, right? Everything's slop now. Daily commentary slop, topic commentary slop, things that cost millions of dollars are slop. Everything is slop. If you don't like it, it's slop. So, hence slop meal, because the word doesn't mean anything anymore.
I guess I don't know a true definition of slop tuber, but like my definition for slop tuber is just like what like imagine what TMZ is, but like for like just like drama of online personalities.
So just drama and the commentary content, maybe the stuff that you don't particularly like because they're more outspoken and they don't say things that you don't like.
People covering drama who talk about drama is like a slop tuber. Do you think that's like correct?
Yeah, that's accurate. And as you were saying that, I was wondering, like, because I had my own like policies for how I was making content and like boundaries, like, I guess you can call them ethical boundaries, for when I was making a lot of these videos. And I'm like, I wonder what differences there are between some slop tubers where they're like, oh no, I won't touch that. Like, I only do 10 videos per person.
I mean, did he say something funny there? I think he was just asking a genuine question. I mean, it comes down to the individual person, right? I don't know what the topic offers. If the topic keeps getting updates, people are going to keep covering it. If there's more to it, people are going to keep covering it. If you're just relentlessly going after someone when they've done nothing, there's no updates, then yeah, that's when people start, talking about the person that's just talking about them constantly.
I hate calling it drama because it at the end of the day, it was you kind of taking a stand of being pro-Palestine.
Okay, fella, I see you down there. Get up off your knees, because that's genuinely not what it was about whatsoever. iDubbbz had a personal grudge against Ethan, went in there, was incredibly malicious racist and disingenuous with the stuff against Ethan was definitely not about standing up because, you know, he's pro-Palestine. Either they haven't watched the video or they're just disingenuous and kneeling for iDubbbz because he's on their podcast.
Have a friend where you just simply disagree and felt like you needed to speak up in a way.
Well, that's the narrative that iDubbbz and Nisa and Frogan and all these other people were trying to put forth. That iDubbbz made this content cop because he was trying to help his friend out, which again is not the case. If you watch, that's clearly not the case. Otherwise, he would have mentioned the CPS. He would have been more open. He wouldn't have been disingenuous, and he wouldn't have thrown in clips like him crying in there to try and sell that he's being empathetic and trying to be this kind guy. Either these people are genuinely that blind and arrogant that they believe this narrative, or they're just, you know, hyped to have iDubbbz on their podcast and they're just yes-manning it.
Yeah, well, I think Ethan made it really fucking easy for me. I think, honestly, the only, like, thing that made me, like, second-guess any of it was, like, how it affects, like, other people. You know, like the whole creator clash thing.
Your charity, not charity event and other people around you wasn't enough to make you go, okay, maybe I should wait until my charity, not charity event is over with.
That was obviously, like, you know, it's disappointing, and it makes me sick to see him, like, you know, using the event as a way to, like, attack me back.
I mean, this is something we went over in the last iDubbbz video, is that he's trying to construct this narrative like people were just targeting Creator Clash, and Ethan was targeting Creator Clash to get an own on iDubbbz, and there was nothing wrong with Creator Clash, when there's several issues, and there's lots of issues outside of just using it to get an own on iDubbbz, which nobody's doing. If this event was actually raising money for charity, if there wasn't any scummy, disingenuous stuff going on there, if there wasn't any problems, and, you know, money was actually going to charity through this actual event instead of donations, then yeah, people wouldn't be criticizing this event. People wouldn't be shitting on a charity event for cancer.
Times in the past, I can think of one other time where I was like, okay, I'll, like, message Ethan about something on his podcast where he's getting a little too fucking creepy or weird with it. And I remember doing that. I think it was related to, like, a David Dobrik thing. He was just, like, getting super into the drama.
Thanks for that. Not really relevant to the actual situation at hand, but, you know, if you want to maybe claim that, you know, maybe just upload some screenshots of your messages, please. Because I don't believe a word that comes out this guy's mouth anymore.
When you brought back the content cop format, I was, like, really like, oh, is this going to be a thing where it's going to feel completely different? But it didn't. Like, it had the same bite. It just also had things that I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, he really did. Like, there is a lot. Like, you basically, like, saying, like, hey, man, I'm worried about you.
Common consensus around this content cop is no. It didn't have the same bite as usual. It wasn't the same regardless, or whatever your beliefs are around this whole situation. It was pretty bad, right? People on both sides are mocking it. But as well, the consensus is that no, this narrative of, oh, I just wanted to help my friend out isn't really accurate, because if it was, then you wouldn't get people like Hassan and all these other people involved, and you wouldn't be disingenuous in your video. There's physically no way that these bunch of schmucks are going to actually acknowledge that whatsoever, or have any pushback or critiques for iDubbbz, because that would genuinely be asking too much.
And I understand that you feel alone and isolated. That is not the kind of kindness that anyone offers anyone online, friends or otherwise.
You know, I did think it was pretty kind when he left out the CPS acknowledgement and the context, and was incredibly disingenuous, and got all the people that hate Ethan Klein on the video to help Ethan Klein. And then because he's so not petty and he's so kind, he then flew out to psychology in Seattle to get some stupid apology grade changed, and then fuck that guy over too because he's just so kind. Yeah, no, nobody really ever shows that kind of kindness on the internet.
So say, like, hey, like, you know, we know you're human too. And it seemed like he and others, his fans, like, interpreted it as, like, just super, like, fake, yeah, insincere.
Yeah.
Because you included a clip of yourself crying at the end of the video to try and show how empathetic you were, trying to hammer home this point, and then also trying to relate yourself to Ethan Klein. And then on top of that, you didn't mention the CPS call once within the actual content cop, that context of all the clips you were showing within that piece of content, and you got the worst people that don't like Ethan Klein involved in that video. So no, people didn't think it was sincere.
You have embraced this kind of, like, a love centric ethic. Do you feel like even doing inside of the charity stuff with the boxing and all this stuff, do you feel like that's the case?
Hey buddy, whoa. I think the term charity when it comes to Creator Clash 3 is a pretty loose term. This is what I mean by this is the most insufferable, irritating podcast on the planet. There is no actual hard-hitting questions for iDubbbz to answer. These people are licking at his narrative from the tip, not saying anything against iDubbbz in any way, shape or form, even just a light critique, because of course, as somebody who does have a podcast, I understand when somebody's on your podcast, maybe you're not going to necessarily want to batter them down, but there was just no pushback here whatsoever, or hard-hitting questions that go against his narrative. They are just glazing the guy.
Sir, do you think that you
described
become more
as a love ethic?
A love ethic.
Love ethic.
I love that.
Yeah, I think so.
That's kind of beautiful.
Yeah, I got some love ethic going on. I think for me to get to that point, I think I kind of like realized that, like once you kind of drop the once you put down the haterade and you're done like constantly hating on other people and shit.
Oh, it's so addictive though. Oh.
Yeah. You kind of like you're left going like, well, what is the alternative? And I think realizing that the alternative is love and is, caring for something,
This is the most despicable, like, unholy thing I think I've ever seen, just ever. Actually, just because these people are saying these things because they're trying to milk you because you're on their podcast and you've said these things, doesn't mean that's actually the truth or that's the case whatsoever. He's just chatting a bunch of rubbish to make himself seem like he's this really, really good, innocent guy that, in this situation, he's the true victim, right? Not Ethan Klein. He's not a victim whatsoever. He's the true victim.
Not specifically that, but concern trolling, and just, how it plays a role in kind of all content creators.
Well, not really relevant to the topic at hand. I can't wait to see an iDubbbz video about concern trolling. That is just going to be, wow, that's going to be beautiful when that drops.
That's kind of why I like the content cop format and like doing some a big punch randomly and then just like letting shit stew and letting people, talk amongst themselves. I think other people kind of do a little bit more back and forth. But it really stresses me out. I don't like it. I don't like that Ethan is talking about me fucking every day on his Instagram or talking about Anissa.
Very simple, Ian. If you didn't drop the content cop on H3, none of that would be happening. That is entirely your fault. Just like by dropping the content cop on Ethan, you sealed the fate for Creator Clash 3. That's your fault. That's nobody else's. Why are you acting like a victim?
Content that I've put out there, just kind of even just reflecting on what's coming back at me, the fans who are clearly fans, clearly subscribed for a long time. Now I'm seeing their rhetoric on my content cop video about H3. Like, I'm like, ooh, like I could look at your comment history and see that you have been here a while. And I was feeding you shit that didn't make you a better person in my mind. Or it certainly didn't help. So yeah, with time.
And that's because, Ian, the content cop was shit, Creator Clash is falling apart, and you've absolutely screwed yourself over, and that podcast is just genuinely abysmal. I can't say anything more about that podcast. It's genuinely infuriating. That's all with Creator Clash and iDubbbz. I'd be very interested to see what happens with Creator Clash next, if they do release an official statement, what iDubbbz says about it, because, I feel like he's got to say something, but I highly doubt he will, but, I'd love to be proven wrong because I'd love to make another video. But everybody watching, what's your thoughts on this? Please feel free to comment down below. Please feel free to comment down below, and once you're done, then you might subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a future upload. But I've been your host, Samuel, and I'll catch you in the next YouTube video.